Hey guys, welcome back to Easeldoesitstudio. So as you see, I have got some jewelry making stuff out. So my hands have really been bothering me. I don't know if you can see. This was a huge blister for 2 days. It finally popped. The splits have finally healed, so I've been trying to take a break from resin just so I can like get my hands like completely healed and see, if it makes a difference. So I figured I've been kind of playing with some of the jewelry, and I have found a really simple way of doing some hoop earrings. So these are some hoops, and they lock into themselves. So it's one piece of wire. My phone can focus. I'm having a hard time, guys. This is like the third take on trying to film something. Hang on. Maybe if I do this, there we go. So you can see. And this just hooks into there. So they're very simple. There's not a lot to them. So I'm going to show you how I made these. And let me just get these back on. And for some reason I put them on here backwards. But that is what they look like. They're really cute. These are 20 gauge. I have a pair that I have on now, and I made it with stainless steel. This stuff is very, very rigid, guys. So I'm not going to even attempt to try it on film because I really had to fight with it because it's a very thick, even though it is 18 gauge, it's still, because it's stainless steel, it's very stiff. So I had made these in 20 gauge. So this is definitely a better thickness than these. These are very thin, but you can make them, both ways. I'm going to try to pay attention and show you guys like each step as I go. And then I had also made these. So I had made these with the 18 gauge. This was a little bit more difficult to do with the 18 gauge. So I will try to redo these, but I'm going to do them in the 20 gauge just so that it's not such a struggle and I can keep my hoops the same. So I had filmed this yesterday. I had made 2 pair of earrings. I had made this pair and this pair. And then I had made 2 rings. I had made this ring and this ring. This I had made with the stainless steel. It was very, very difficult. This one I did with the 20 gauge. And it was just, it was just easier to bend. So for the sake of the video, I'll probably do it with the 20 gauge again. Like I said, I am still learning, guys. But I finally, I can make a few different pieces, and these are really, really cute, and they fit really nice. They're comfortable on. So, yeah. All right, so we're going to start with the earrings first. So I'm going to get, this is the 20 gauge. It's just the cheapy, copper coated. And let me see. So if you want them the same length, these are about 1.5 inches. So I would probably go with 3.5 because you want enough to make your bend, and I'd rather cut a little off than go too small. But if you wanted your loop smaller, then you could go with less. So, all right, so we're gonna go, we'll just do 4 inches just to be on the safe side. All right, no, you know what? Let's do these in the 16 gauge. This is a little bit stiffer wire, but overall, I think the thicker is better for earrings. All right, so I'm just gonna take my flat nose pliers, and if you don't know what these are, this is the flat side. See how it's flat? And this is kind of beveled. You want this side to be cutting wherever you're gonna make your cut, because it's gonna make it flat. So, you know, you can see that it's like a flat versus this is kind of pokey. See that? So I'm gonna just go through and we're gonna make sure both ends are nice and flat. All right. And then we are just going to get another piece, and we're going to use the one we just cut. So I'm going to make sure that the flat side is where I'm cutting. And then this one, we're going to just go in and flat cut this one. So now we have our 2 4-inch pieces. So what I do on one, I'll stop and I do on the other. And I found that works better for me as far as trying to get them symmetrical. So I'm just using my, I think these are called Final Flat Nose, or I don't know. They just flatten the wire out and they don't damage your metal. And it also helps harden the wire. So if you don't hammer your wire, it's going to be much softer. It does something to the molecules in the wire when you hammer it, even if it's with the like a rubber hammer. So because these are going in an ear, I am going to take my nail file and we're gonna just file the edge. So I have you zoomed in so that hopefully you can see what I'm doing. And I will stop and show you after like each step so you can see, you know, what I'm doing. Because I did have a few requests for that on the last video. So, and then we're going to do the same thing with the other one. And then feel it with your hand. You want to make sure that you have nothing sharp. So that the ones that I have in now, they're a little bit smaller, but they are the stainless steel because I can't wear like this plated stuff in my ears. They'll break out every single time. So we've got both of our pieces. Let me just let's try to get them as even as we can. And I like using these nylon jaw pliers because it doesn't damage your wire. So I use my ring mandrel, and it just depends on the size of the oval that you want. So I just bring it up and we're going to cross it over. One side's going to be longer than the other, that's fine. And then we're going to put the other one on. So wherever I put this, you know, it was like at the 8, I'll put this one at the 8 and bend it up so that they are going to be somewhat the same ovalness. I guess, is that even a word? So like this. And then you can put them together and they're pretty even. So they're just crossed over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the shorter side and we're going to make a loop in it. I'm going to try using my baling pliers. When I did it yesterday, I tried using the round nose and it was a little bit more of a struggle. So I'm going to use the smallest one. This is the smallest, then this one, you know, and it just kind of goes over. So I'm going to take this and we are going to just make a loop. And you want that loop as small as possible. So I will take my round pliers here. So it's a little, that's a little big for what I really want, but it's still gonna work. And then we're gonna take this and we're gonna bring it straight up, and then I'll finish closing that in. And let me get my flat pliers. All right, and then I'm going to turn this sideways. So that is where our post is gonna go through. So before I go too far, I'm gonna go and do the same thing on this wire here. And that way I can try and keep them as even as possible. Bend that in a little bit. And then I'm going to take my bent nose here, and we're just going to bring that so it's straight. Straighten that out. I'm going to finish squeezing that in so it touches, and then we are going to flip it sideways. So these two should be about the same size. And this one here has got to come up a little bit more. There we go. So now we're pretty even. All right. Step 2. So before I go too far, I'm going to hammer these out just a little bit. So we're going to use our, I don't know what you call this, nylon or rubber, either one, doesn't matter. So we're just going to hammer that down. And we're going to do both sides. And what this is going to do is strengthen that wire. So it's not going to be as flimsy. And I'm going to take my bent nose pliers, and I want the bend to be at about the top of this piece here. At the top of our circle is where I want the bend. So I'm going to come up just above that, and we are going to fold that over. Just like that. And then we are going to take the tip, just the tip. You can see how it's just barely sticking out, and we're just going to kick it up just a little bit. And that's going to lock into the ear. So this is the amount that's going to go through the ear, and this is the front. So then we're going to do the same thing on this one. We're going to come up just above our circle here. I want that straight. And I want that touching. And then we can reshape them after. Like this one here has got a little bit wonky. Probably because I didn't hammer this one. Oh. So I'm putting the circle part off my block. And then just like that. So I'm going to take my bent nose, and we're just going to go above where the top of this is. And we're going to clip it at a 90 degree, like that. Okay, and then we're just going to take the tip, the very tip. I leave just a little bit hanging out, and I just kick it a little bit, just so it has a lift. And that is what's going to lock in. Now, if I did everything right, they should be pretty even, which they are. Yay! But we have no rough ends or anything like that. So this one kicks up maybe a little bit more than this one. So let me just unhook that. And there, just so that it locks on. And then kind of what I do is I just kind of bring it back around, holding the bottom, and I just tap this again, just to make sure you have that little roundness in the bottom and that it's even. And there we have our little hoop earrings. So that is one way of making some hoops. You can make them round or, you know, as long as you want, as skinny, whatever. It's You know, these are a little bit fatter and shorter than the ones that I made yesterday. See how these are a little bit bigger? So each time you make them, they're going to be different. So if you're making them both at the same time, you know that they're going to be at least similar. Maybe not twins, but sisters. All right, so I'm going to take the 20 gauge now. This is just the 20 gauge. And I am going to, we're going to take like a foot, and I'm going to snip it off. Why am I always losing something? Right here. All right. So I cut that on the wrong way, so I'm going to just turn it around, snip it. So I know those two ends are flush cut. And then I'm just gonna cut them here. Flush cut. And just to make sure. And then we're gonna straighten them out. That one had like a little kink in it. And this also helps to start strengthening your wire. All right, so we have our two pieces. We're gonna do basically the same thing. I'm gonna bring these down so that the loop is maybe a little bit bigger. We're gonna cross those over. Take this one, do the same thing. Cross that over. And pretty even. Okay. So you can have something hanging in the center if you wanted. You can put a bead on the outside. So why don't we, let's just pick, just so that it's a little bit different. Oop. And I just mixed all of my sizes in here. So I want 2 of these. These are the smaller beads. So I'm gonna take one and I'm gonna slip that on my wire right now. Just like that. So it's just gonna hang at the bottom and just, you know, it just give a little bit of color. So I'm gonna take one wire and I'm going to bend at like a 90 so that they're crossing over right there. And then I'm going to wrap this around. Now, because this wire is so soft, your earring is probably going to get out of shape. So we'll have to fix it. So I do want to go around twice, like that. And I'm just gonna bring this over around the front the third time, just so I can have the cut part in the back. So this is gonna be the back of our earring. So I have it so it's still sticking up. See how it's still sticking up? So I'm gonna take my flush cutters with the flat side down, and I'm going to make sure that I only cut this wire, but I want it so that it's short enough it's not gonna go out the other end. See how there's just that little tiny bit? And then I'm going to tuck that over. Feel there's nothing sharp. So we can just take our little pliers here, kind of start reshaping. You know, you can even use your fingers, especially on the 20 gauge, because this is very, very soft wire. And then we are going to take, and we're gonna bend this wire over like that. And I'm gonna cut this probably in half. So we have basically, let's see, maybe a ½ inch. Let me cut it and then I'll measure and see what we have. About a ½ inch. And then we're gonna take our round nose pliers and we're gonna make a loop. And we're gonna tuck that in to the bottom. So now we have one of our hoops, which is similar to these. These were with the 16 gauge, and these are with the 20. So let's get the other one done. Now I should have been doing them at the same time, and I didn't. I'm gonna fold that over, and I'm going to wrap this around. All right, so I did it loose, and now I will come in with my pliers and we'll just tighten them up. So the second one always seems to go easy, but you know what I forgot to do? Oh no. I forgot to put the bead on. Crap on a cracker. So I'm gonna have to, all right, let me just see if we can do it this way. So I'm not completely having to undo it. All right, let's get that down to the bottom. We're gonna poke that back up through. All right, so I'm gonna definitely have to reshape these for sure. All right, so let me try to get that back around there neatly. Straighten out little wires here. So I'm gonna lift that up, and we are going to snip that And then we're gonna tuck that around. All right. So we're definitely gone a little wonky, but that's okay. All right, so we're gonna bend that over, and I have about what I need. So we're gonna roll this to make our little loop. We're gonna pinch it in and then straighten it out. All right, so now I'm just going to kind of use the mandrel in my thumb to give it back some of that shape that we had. And I have a kink, so I'm gonna use my little hammer, and we're all right. And this wire is very, still very pliable at this point. So let's see. Now we can kind of finish shaping to get them oh, I closed that one a bit much. I might not be able to get my wire in there, but maybe. I'm just kind of using my finger to smooth that. So if I would have hammered this first, I probably wouldn't have had as much of a problem. So now I just want to make sure that they're close to the same width, and they are not. This one here, I am going to just bend the whole earring because it was, this earring was a tad bit longer than the other one. I'll take my round. Let me squeeze that down, and then we can open our loop. And now we can make a normal loop. All right. Bring that up. We're going to close this bottom piece right there. Now, hopefully, our heights are much closer. Yes, they are. Okay. So I am going to put this on our little block and trying to hammer that out, which will also help shape. You know, it will help shape them. So we have one. They're not perfect. This is only the second time I've made this style, and this is only the first time I put a hoop bead on it. So each time you do something, you get a little bit better. You know, and they're handmade, so they're not gonna be completely perfect, like, you know, they were mass produced, but that is really, really close. You know, and then we can just keep tweaking them a little bit until we get exactly the shape that we want. Okay, so now we've got to make or put our jump rings on. So I am going to attempt to make my own jump rings. I don't know if this is going to be too thick. Yeah, that's going to be too big. So let's do it out of the 20 gauge, which is the same. So if you make a spiral like that, and where is that first cut? So you see how right here is where that first one we started that loop. So we're just going to go in and make a cut on that line, like right close to it. And there's one of our jump rings. And then we're gonna cut that second wire. I just had to spread it out a little bit more because I couldn't quite get in there. So we have two of our jump rings all ready. So let me take my pliers and my bent nose, and if you kind of go like that, then they will stay locked. So we're going to kick one open sideways. We're going to feed that through the loop. We're going to grab one on one side and on the other. And we're going to go back and forth, and that helps those jump rings stay closed. I did not know that until I started doing this jewelry. So that is like, even if you're doing keychains and you're buying your jump rings, if you go back and forth with them like that, it will help them stay closed better. So let's get this one. All right, so we're gonna kick this out. We're gonna feed that through. And then we're gonna bring that back. And I am gonna try to squeeze this down just a smidge. There we go. So now we have got our earrings with our little jump ring in it. So let me take and grab an ear wire. You know, you can make the ear wires too. I have not attempted that yet, but you can. And as soon as I figure it out, I will show you. So even though the earrings themselves are not stainless steel or sterling silver, I always use sterling silver hooks because I'm, you know, my ears are sensitive, and so I'm just gonna kick one side out. We are gonna put our little jump ring that we made through the hole, and then we are gonna close. Yeah, we're gonna, I got the little ball on there moving, that's why. All right, I'm gonna close that back up. And now we have our earring all made. So let's do the same on the other one. We're gonna move this down. We're gonna kick one side open. We're gonna put our little jump ring through, and then we're gonna close that down. And there we have our 2 hoop earrings. Just like that. So that's the earrings. So they're very easy once, you know, you get the hang of it. There's some fancier moves that I want to make, but I got to learn the basics, you know, first. So let's pull out, I'm going to do the same, no, maybe we'll try a different bead this time, because it's the same maneuver, but it will just be a different bead. And I am going to use the, I'm going to try the 16. No, we're going to do the 20. All right, so I'm going to start with about 8 inches. I know that's way too much, but I'm still learning, and I'm still, you know, so I'd rather have more and have to cut some than to not have enough, because I did that already too. And I have a few pieces that are not finished because I didn't have enough wire. So I'm just trying to figure out how I can like add to it without destroying it. All right, so we are gonna put our bead through. Now, when I did this one, I did it a little bit different, and I made my things on the bottom of the ring. These little ones on the 20 gauge, you don't feel it, but on the thicker gauges, you do. So basically, I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna start with about an 8, I'd like it to be a 6, but we will see. So I'm just trying to somewhat center it. And we're just going to cross over. Kind of like that. And that's not going to look as good. It is not going to look as good because of the roundness of it. All right, so let's bring it down here. I'm going to do something different. So I'm holding it firm, and let's cross this piece over. And then I'm going to pull tight, like as tight as I can, and I'm going to cross this piece over. Just kind of using the pliers to really give a good pull. All right. So it'll be a different style, but that's fine. And then I'm just going to give this like a little bend underneath. But we want to keep our 2 wires side by side. So I'm going to pull this up. So I'm going to cross that over. Now see how my wires are still flat. I'm going to give this a little squeeze to make it tight. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I'm going to bring that up. And I'm going to kick this down. So it's starting to go underneath the ring. And we'll pull that up. Make sure that your wires are still flat. So we went around once, and that's why I did each side, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to go as much around this side as this side, and I wanted my sides to be even. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip this wire so that it's somewhat flush, and then we're going to bend this around so that it's tucking in between those bands. So it kind of sits in that little crease. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Leaving just a smidge out. And then we're going to squeeze that down. So now we feel no roughness at all. We're going to put this back on our ring. Now, doing it this way, we pretty much kept our size 8. So now I'm just going to take my hammer and we're going to go around the band. And that's just going to help harden that wire up, and it's going to bring it to the 8. So now we are right on that 8. See what that 8 is? We're right on that 8. And that is our ring. So if, you know, somebody likes like a higher ring, that's a way of doing it. We could have used a smaller ring, I mean a smaller bead, but let's do the flat so you can see, because I did that one a little bit different. So we'll use the same bead, and that way you can see what I did. So just gonna cut off a length. Let me straighten it here. So tomorrow I'm going to be live painting. I'm going to be doing an oil painting similar to what I did last week, but with oils. So those of you that, you know, like that, stay tuned for that, because that's going to be on Monday night. All right, so we're going to put this again in the middle. I'm going to start at about a 9, because this one I think shrinks. I can't remember. I've got to start making notes. And we're just going to wrap one way. So one's going to go above, one's going to go below. See, we got way too much wire, but that's fine. I'd rather that than not enough. So then what I did is I wanted these 2 wires to be underneath that stone, kind of like this. So it's pulling your bands, you know, in close. So we got them, and that was the hardest part that I found, was trying to like hold the ring. Let me just see if by using something to keep them really snug. That might help. And I might have to get used to working with my left hand. I'll switch hands because I can't work with my other hand. I just can't. All right, so we're gonna leave this out because this is the wire that is really long. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna kind of bend that close to the stone. And then we're gonna tuck that underneath. I'm gonna use my fingers. I just have a little bit more control this way. Getting that tight. I'd like to do 3 wraps on this one. So see how there's 2 right there? I'm gonna bring this around one more time underneath. And then we'll flatten that. So I'm gonna snip this. And then again, we want to tuck that little end into where the grooves are so that there's nothing sharp and pokey. Okay, so that side is done. And we managed to keep our 2 wires underneath the stone. Just gonna put it back on here just to, and then I'm gonna cross that over. Let me snip some of that because that's way too. All right, so I'm gonna feed that through. And for some reason, I work better with these bent nose pliers. I don't know why. So we have the 1 loop. And we're just gonna we're gonna go 2 more times. And I'm not squeezing my wire really tight. I'm just kind of pulling, and it's doing its own, it's just automatically kind of going underneath there. Squeeze them together. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have 1, 2, so we got, gotta back off. All right, so we're gonna back off there because we want them the same. I'm gonna just give that a squeeze, make sure our band is still straight. And again, we're gonna snip that little piece off. And try to straighten that out. And then we're gonna, and this one was a little bit long, but we got it under, no pokey bits. And we can put it back. And this one here is about a 9.5. So whatever I did this time, I was actually able to not make it go so small. And then we're just gonna hammer that, firm that up a little bit. And we have our cute little ring. So I'm getting better. I'm slowly figuring this out. So this was the first one. And you can see where the wire was still poking out. Whereas on this one, I managed to get it completely underneath the way I wanted. See how they're both underneath there? Whereas this one, they're kind of wonky. So yeah. Now we have, so we've did 2 rings, 2 different rings, and 2 different pair of earrings in an hour. That's not bad, considering I'm still learning. So I am going to be starting to work on a couple of bracelets. So, and because my hands are bad, you might see a few jewelry videos. I hope you guys don't mind. But I want to start trying to incorporate like some littler beads with some bigger beads. And I want to do a bracelet. So, yeah, I'm going to be playing around tomorrow with a couple of different patterns that I'm kind of tossing around in my head and see if we can do it. I did want to see though if, because I'd like to make the bracelets out of the stainless steel, The only thing, I knew I had a hard time doing the round nose pliers, but I didn't try the bale mandrel. So I just want to see if it's going to be easier to make a loop in the stainless steel with, yes, okay. So look, we were able to make a nice round bale. So I'll probably start with the 16 gauge to figure out how to do it, you know, which is the cheaper stuff. And then I'm going to attempt one out of the sterling silver or the stainless steel. But yeah, so that is it for this video, guys. I hope those of you that are learning, hopefully I stopped and showed you what I was doing. You know, I'm trying to get better at it. So if there's still things that you'd like me to stop and show, put it in the comments, and I will, you know, make sure that I take the time to do that. I really like these, you know, so you can, one going one way, one going the other, and then these are just a little bit longer. So, I mean, you can do anything with them. And these are simple enough that you can do the, you know, the heavier gauge. Now that I know I can make a loop, I might attempt another pair of these in that. The ones I have on are the stainless steel, but they ended up being like half of this length, which is fine. They're still really cute, which I'll probably have them on Monday still, so you'll be able to see that on my live. If I forget to tell you, you can kind of notice them. And, you know, then this is the regular ones without the little balls. So yeah, you can just dress them up any way you want. So I will put these on some jewelry cards, and you know, I'll see if there's any interest at the art walk on the 10th. And, you know, we'll go from there. Alrighty, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and I will see you guys all on the next video. Get my earrings situated here. There. And we got our rings. So yeah. Alrighty, guys. Have a great night. Bye.